So, stop scrolling. Stop whatever you were about to do in the next 10 seconds. Because, in the space of about 72 hours, the public relations operation around Meghan Markle has produced what may turn out to be the most chaotic, self-defeating, gossip-rich weekend of the entire post-royal era. And the most extraordinary part of it is that the team did all of it to themselves. Nobody had to push. Nobody had to leak. Nobody had to brief against them. They walked into the moment, one Instagram post at a time, and planted the entire mess in public view. Picture the timeline. A weekend that began with a wedding anniversary tribute video intended to remind the world of the global fairy tale, and ended with the rest of the world ignoring the post entirely. An accidental upload in the same anniversary reel featured a never-before-seen photograph in which Prince Harry appears to be in a heated exchange with the Wales's nanny. A relaunched lifestyle promotion video showed Meghan Markle, in soft focus, leaning against a window in what is plainly not her own kitchen. A second promotion video was shot in what looked like the same rented set. A new commemorative candle, attached to the wedding anniversary itself, hovered across the entire weekend. And hanging over everything was the recent memory of an Australian polling disaster, a Geneva speech delivered to an empty square, and the Montecito kitchen that has now become, in the words of one of the most credentialed royal correspondents in print, the visible symbol of the failure of the entire post-royal project. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through every single beat of it. The candle that crossed a line even the most loyal supporters could not defend. The anniversary post that was so loud, the silence in response became the only sound anyone could hear. The picture that almost certainly should never have been published. The kitchen that explains everything you need to know about where the Sussex finances really are. Finnish politician selfie. The 4 candles on the anniversary cake that everybody noticed. Let us begin with the anniversary, because the anniversary is the moment the entire weekend lost its footing. It was the 8th wedding anniversary of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. By any honest metric, this should have been a soft, easy public relations win. 8 years is a milestone the public will allow you to celebrate. The original wedding had a global audience measured in the billions. The visuals from that day remain some of the most photographed royal images of the modern era. A simple, dignified post, perhaps a single new image, perhaps a quiet handwritten line, would have done the job and allowed the rest of the world to provide the warmth. Instead, the Sussex operation chose to flood the zone. There was a multi-image montage tribute video, multiple posts, and a new line of branded products attached to the date itself. And among the carefully selected images posted to 4.5 million followers was one photograph that, by every available account, should never have left the personal archive. It appears to show Prince Harry, on the wedding day itself, in what visibly looks like a heated exchange. The interpretation circulating across royal commentary, first picked up by the popular account according to Taz, is that the exchange was with the Wales family nanny. The small children visible in the frame appeared, to several observers, wary. Given everything that has been reported about tensions on the wedding day surrounding the use of the children, the context has become the subject of years of speculation. The dialogue captured in that still frame is now being interpreted by viewers around the world in the most unflattering possible light. Now, there are 2 ways to read what just happened. One interpretation is that this was a deliberate choice by the Sussex operation. The Sussex operation has made deliberately provocative editorial decisions before, and this would not be the first time a photograph was used to push a narrative. The other interpretation, the one journalist Paula Froelich has put forward, is that this was simply a mistake. By Froelich's account, Meghan Markle has a habit of hammering a point home with too many photographs when one would do. The closer you examine the suite of images, the less the operation resembles a calculated public relations machine and the more it looks like a single person scrolling through her own camera roll, selecting images on instinct, with no second pair of eyes reviewing the selection before it went live. Either interpretation is bad. If it was deliberate, then the operation has decided that the gossip value of a picture in which Prince Harry appears unkind is worth more than the warmth value of a clean anniversary tribute. If it was accidental, then the operation has publicly confirmed that nobody competent is reviewing the queue before things are published. Froelich's hypothesis, with which most observers seem to agree, is that the second explanation is more likely. The Sussex operation has, by widely reported accounts, dramatically slimmed down its staff over the past 18 months. Tom Sykes, writing for the Daily Beast Royalist Substack, has reported that the production company has been pared down to a team of 2, that Archewell closed at the end of last year, and that what remains is, in the dismissive Hollywood phrase, a label, an entity that primarily exists to attach its branding to other people's projects. In that context, the picture is not a strategy. The picture is what happens when you do not have the staff in place to catch a mistake before it leaves the door. It is also worth noting the historical context surrounding that single photograph, because context is everything. The wedding day itself was the subject of extensive contemporary speculation. There was extensive reporting at the time about tensions between the two couples, the senior Cambridges and the newly formed Sussexes, specifically surrounding the involvement of the children. Reports published at the time, and reinforced later by multiple credentialed correspondents, described disagreements over how the young bridesmaids and page boys were being treated during rehearsals and on the wedding day itself. Several reports referenced an incident involving Princess Charlotte, who was 4 years old at the time, which reportedly left senior members of the royal family deeply unhappy. The photograph posted in the anniversary reel, by every available reading of the body language captured in the still frame, appears to place the viewer directly in the middle of that tension. Whatever the actual exchange may have been in real time, the visual the public is now seeing is a man in royal regalia, apparently engaged in a heated conversation with a member of the Wales household, while small children in the surrounding frame appear visibly uncertain. Those are the optics. And for a wedding anniversary post designed to generate warmth, they are possibly the worst optics the operation could have produced. But in the end, the photograph is only the second most embarrassing detail of the anniversary post. The most embarrassing detail is the silence surrounding it. Look at what is missing. The Sussex wedding in 2018 was one of the most A-list events in modern celebrity history. Oprah Winfrey, Gayle King, George Clooney, Amal Clooney, Priyanka Chopra, Serena Williams, Elton John, James Corden, and Idris Elba, some of the biggest names in entertainment, sport, fashion, and American media, were all on the guest list. 8 years later, the Sussex anniversary post went live, and the public watched in real time to see what happened next. Or rather, what did not happen. Nobody reposted it. Nobody quote-shared it. Nobody published a heartfelt message about how magical the day had been. None of the A-list guests shared their own throwback photos. None of the close friends offered a public tribute, and none of the family members on either side publicly acknowledged the anniversary. Not a single person from either side made a visible public gesture. The two flagship American media allies, Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King, who both attended the original wedding and have long been among the warmest American press supporters of the Sussexes, posted nothing publicly about the anniversary. Serena Williams, who has appeared noticeably more distant in recent months and was lukewarm at best about the latest as ever launch, said nothing. The Clooneys said nothing. Priyanka Chopra said nothing. Elton John, whose image Meghan Markle included in her own tribute video, did not reciprocate. Royal commentary writer Queen Esther summarized it as clearly as anyone. "The world," she wrote, "is now respecting the privacy of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, except for Meghan Markle and Prince Harry themselves." Imagine going from a wedding packed with A-list celebrities to, 8 years later, not one visible celebrity friend, not one best friend, not one A-lister, and not one family member publicly wishing them a happy anniversary. No posts. No flowers. No tributes. Just silence. And in this kind of celebrity gossip, silence becomes the entire story. Because silence surrounding a major celebrity anniversary is not a scheduling accident. Celebrity friends are professionals. They know when an anniversary is approaching. They know when a public acknowledgement is expected. And they understand the social cost of saying nothing. So when an entire circle of A-listers, many of whom posted that same week about other friends and personal milestones, simultaneously declines to post even a single line about you, that is not coincidence. That is a coordinated, polite, unmistakable cooling. There is one more revealing detail in the anniversary content. and it is the detail close observers noticed almost immediately in the tribute video itself. The cake imagery used by the Sussexes appeared, upon visible inspection, to contain 4 candles. Despite it being their 8th wedding anniversary, the anniversary cake should have had 8 candles. Instead, it appeared to have only 4. So either the production team did not bother to count, the imagery was recycled from a previous anniversary post and uploaded without being updated, or, in the kindest possible interpretation, someone on the team simply thought it looked better with 4 candles. None of those explanations is good. Every one of them reinforces the broader impression that the Sussex operation no longer has the staff, structure, or discipline required to catch the kind of detail that, in any competent public relations machine, would never have made it out the door. It is also worth noting where the only visible anniversary tributes appear to come from, because the answer is darkly amusing. Queen Esther observed, with the kind of dry humor that lands hardest in stories like this, that the only visible public anniversary wishes seemed to come from airline crew members who had reportedly been informed about the anniversary in advance. That is the social ladder the Sussexes appeared to occupy this weekend. From a wedding guest list filled with global A-list celebrities to a public tribute roster made up of flight attendants, that comparison stings regardless of which side of the royal debate someone supports. And beneath all of this sits one more uncomfortable observation, raised quietly throughout the royal commentary world. Over the past several months, the Sussexes have openly floated the idea of a vow renewal ceremony. The narrative being tested is that they never truly got the wedding they wanted, that the institutions surrounding the original ceremony denied them the celebration they deserved, and that a vow renewal would somehow correct that. Now read that idea again in the context of this weekend's anniversary silence. They had one of the most star-studded celebrity weddings in modern history, attended in person by some of the most famous people on the planet. Yet 8 years later, that same celebrity world declined to publicly acknowledge the anniversary at all. And now the strategic question facing the Sussex operation sits in plain view. The issue with the vow renewal idea, several observers have begun to suggest, may not be renewing the vows at all. The issue may be finding enough people willing to attend. Now, before we get to the kitchen, we need to address the candle. Because the candle is the moment the wider press, including some of the friendliest American outlets, quietly drew a line. The Sussex commercial brand, as ever, has spent the past year launching a steady stream of lifestyle products: jams, honey, marmalades, branded packaging, and curated pantry aesthetics. The pantry video, the one Meghan Markle posted to lead the weekend's content push, served as a wide-angle promotion for the entire As Ever product line and a direct invitation for fans to shop the full pantry collection. So far, none of that is unusual. Lifestyle brands launch lifestyle products. Many celebrities do it, and many celebrities do it successfully. The decision to attach a new candle directly to the wedding anniversary itself, however, crossed a line that even some of the most patient observers have pointed out. The Sussex operation has already faced criticism in the past for products that appeared to be named after, or otherwise connected to, the late Queen Elizabeth II. Tom Sykes covered an earlier candle controversy at the beginning of 2026, in which a press release reportedly had to be quickly rewritten in order to reposition an existing candle around the founder's daughter rather than around her late majesty. So the precedent already exists for using royal family associations as commercial branding anchors. This weekend, however, the royal connection being used was not the late Queen. It was the wedding itself. The wedding that was funded in significant part by British taxpayers and supported by the institutional machinery of the British royal family was, 8 years later, turned into the promotional launch point for a candle being sold to the public. And that is where the criticism intensified. This point has not come from cynics. It has come from people who have been broadly sympathetic to the Sussexes in the past. The argument is not complicated. There are some things that, even in a fully commercial lifestyle brand, you do not turn into a candle. A wedding underwritten by the institutional and financial resources of the family you have spent 6 years publicly criticizing is one of those things. The press release optics on it are bad. The political optics on it are worse. And the timing, attached to an anniversary the wider celebrity world had already decided to ignore, made the product look smaller than it was supposed to be. It is worth taking a step back and looking at the pattern across the entire candle history of the brand, because the pattern is its own piece of gossip. The very first publicized, as ever, candle, according to earlier reporting by Tom Sykes in The Royalist, ran into trouble around the rewritten press release. The next round of product releases drew criticism over apparent overlap with branding from existing, much smaller, woman-owned businesses, an issue that generated quiet but very real badwill within the wider entrepreneurial community. Now, the latest product release attaches itself directly to the wedding day. 3 product releases, 3 rounds of avoidable controversy. In a normal brand operation, a single one of these incidents would have prompted a sit-down meeting, an internal review, and a tightening of the approval process. In this operation, by every available indication, no such tightening appears to have taken place. The candles, by every visible reading, are simply being launched as fast as the team can launch them, while the optics are managed afterwards through press release rewrites and quiet caption edits. That is not how a serious lifestyle brand operates. That is how a brand operates when the urgency of generating immediate revenue has overtaken the discipline of protecting the brand. Now, to the kitchen. The kitchen, Tom Sykes has now argued in print, is the symbol of the entire failure. For weeks, observers have been quietly noting that Meghan Markle's new content was being shot in what appeared to be a single, distinctive kitchen, orange-brown wood cabinets, copper pots hanging from the ceiling, the kind of interior that, in Sykes's memorable phrase, looks like it was last updated in 2003. And, more specifically, it looks like it was designed by somebody who thought the Olive Garden chain was aspirational. The new, as ever, promotional video, in which Meghan Markle leans against a window pretending to drink tea with an expression pitched somewhere between seductive and aspirational, was shot, by every available indication, in a continuation of the same rented farmhouse set that was used for the original With Love, Meghan production. Not the actual Montecito family kitchen, a rented one. A working set. Now ask the obvious question. Why is Meghan Markle, of all public figures in the world, shooting her brand content in a rented farmhouse kitchen instead of in her own? And the answer, in the column Tom Sykes published in The Royalist this week titled, 8 Years On, Meghan's Taco Bell Kitchen is the symbol of Project Sussex's failure, is the answer the wider gossip world has been edging toward for months. Her own kitchen, by every available indication, and according to sources close to the area whom Sykes has now spoken to, has not been remodeled. The house was bought in 2020, and parts of it date back to a previous renovation cycle completed by a former owner, historically identified as a Russian businessman who later died under circumstances reported variously across the international press. The kitchen, by these accounts, has not been touched since. In Montecito in 2026, that stands out. In a town where the baseline expectation among the wealthy is that, the moment you buy a house, you remodel it from the footprint up, Sykes says he was told by a local source that the situation was highly unusual. A person familiar with the local social circles reportedly told Tom Sykes that the Sussex house is, in Montecito terms, a laughingstock. In a town where conspicuous renovation is essentially a hobby for the wives of the very rich, the fact that the Sussexes have not redone even the kitchen after 6 years in the house is seen locally as a tell, not tabloid speculation, but a local tell. It is the kind of detail neighbors notice and quietly trade among themselves. The Sykes column itself opened this point up with a rare degree of specificity. He wrote that somebody living in the area told him the Sussex house is regarded as a laughingstock within Montecito social circles. The line about the kitchen looking like something out of an Olive Garden circa 1994 came from a separate Royalist piece published 2 weeks earlier, in which Tom Sykes also reported, citing sources in the United States, that the couple allegedly could not afford to remodel. At the time, that detail did not receive much attention from the friendly press. 2 weeks later, however, with Meghan Markle now visibly shooting her commercial content in a rented kitchen rather than her own, the local sourcing has taken on a far more convincing ring of truth. The kitchen story is no longer a one-off observation. It has become a sustained, on-the-record assessment from a credentialed correspondent with sources connected to the area being described. And this is where the kitchen stops being just a kitchen and starts becoming a symbol. The Sussex operation, throughout the entire post-royal era, has been built around a vision of California living that was supposed to represent aspirational lifestyle content, quiet luxury, bespoke interiors, and the carefully curated image of a couple who escaped institutional constraint and could now live entirely on their own terms, in the way Meghan Markle had reportedly envisioned for years. That promise required, at the very least, a visible kitchen worth showing. And 6 years on, the kitchen is still not worth showing. It is so visibly not worth showing that the brand has, by sheer necessity, been pushed into shooting its anchor content in somebody else's farmhouse and presenting that as the lifestyle. Compare that to the Frogmore Cottage situation, the property the Sussexes occupied as working senior royals before their departure. That property underwent a renovation reported at the time to have cost in the region of £2 million, and Meghan Markle was said to be directly involved in the design decisions. The Frogmore kitchen, by all accounts and according to photographs released at the time, was bright, modern, and filled with natural light, the kind of space anyone would want to entertain in. So the lifestyle brand does, in fact, have a track record of producing a beautiful kitchen when somebody else is paying for it. When the bill has to be carried by the brand's own commercial earnings, however, the kitchen has, by every visible indication, remained exactly as it was when the house was purchased. That is the underlying gossip moral of the entire kitchen story. The promise of the California escape required a budget that the post-royal brand, in the end, may not have been able to generate. According to Tom Sykes' reporting, local sources view the unremodeled kitchen as a significant indicator of declining financial firepower. In that interpretation, the kitchen is not a stylistic choice. It is a balance sheet sitting in plain view for every viewer to see. There is also one very specific detail in the unremodeled kitchen story that explains why this narrative is being interpreted in Montecito the way it is. The lifestyle brand built around Meghan Markle has, for years, rested on the premise that she is the curator of beautiful things, the tastemaker, the natural style authority, the woman with the eye. That premise depends on a coherent visual identity carried consistently through every aspect of public life. So when the curator of beautiful things is 6 years into owning a house while still living with a kitchen that appears visually outdated, the contradiction becomes impossible for observers to ignore. When the kitchen is something that other people in the neighborhood are openly mocking, the premise itself begins to wobble. It is not that the kitchen is objectively bad. There is nothing wrong with a kitchen full of copper pots. People love copper pots. There is nothing wrong with orange-brown cabinets, and there is certainly nothing wrong with the Olive Garden chain. The criticism is not about taste in absolute terms. The criticism is about the gap between the public image of refined taste and the actual lived environment. That gap is what the neighbors have noticed. That gap is what Tom Sykes' sources have reportedly been discussing. And that gap is what the rented farmhouse video appears to have confirmed. Now to the wider commercial reality, because the kitchen story sits inside a much larger picture that has been developing throughout the year. By every available account, the Australia trip earlier this year was viewed as a polling disaster. The Sussexes flew in for an Invictus-related visit and generated coverage that the team described as the right kind of impact. Yet, according to independent web traffic analysis, public engagement with Sussex-related content actually declined during the visit. In his column, Tom Sykes pointed to analysis conducted by royal commentator Jack Royston, drawing on similar web data, which reportedly showed Australian traffic falling rather than rising while the Sussexes were on the ground. The official line, that "you had to be there, that the atmosphere in the room was different," ultimately did not hold up against the numbers. And it was during that same Australia trip that one of the more genuinely awkward gossip stories of the year emerged. Meghan Markle was photographed posing for a selfie with a Finnish politician who, according to reports cited in Tom Sykes' Royalist column and elsewhere, was facing serious allegations involving sexual harassment and racism. The optics of that selfie, arriving in the middle of a tour that was already struggling to gain positive momentum, immediately drew attention. The standard vetting routine that any working royal communications team would normally conduct before allowing a public photograph with a controversial figure, by every visible indication, simply was not carried out. Either the team failed to check, or the team did check and decided to proceed anyway. Both interpretations are damaging. The Royalist column itself, co-written by Tom Sykes and Victoria Gifford, was published almost exactly on the eve of the Sussex wedding anniversary, which gave the selfie controversy an added layer of irony. The anniversary content was supposed to dominate the week's narrative. Instead, the first major gossip headline of the week became a photograph of Meghan Markle posing with a foreign politician surrounded by controversy. And the underlying message many observers took away was the same. Nobody appeared to be checking the room before she entered it. Nobody seemed to be reviewing the photographs before they landed on her camera roll. Nobody appeared to be stress-testing the obvious questions that any experienced senior royal staff operation would have raised at least 24 hours in advance. That is what a fully functioning brand operation does every single day as a matter of routine. The Sussex operation, judging by the observable signals of the past month, no longer appears to be running those checks consistently. So consider the sequence of weeks the Sussex operation has just experienced. Australia, where polling reportedly collapsed and the Finnish politician's selfie created embarrassment. Geneva, where Meghan Markle addressed a nearly empty square in front of one of the world's most senior global health officials, while her own Instagram post the night before, featuring her 4-year-old daughter in a wardrobe shot containing roughly $250,000 worth of clothing, appeared to contradict the message of the speech itself. And now this weekend, the anniversary post that failed to gain traction with the A-list audience that was expected to amplify it, the accidental publication of an unflattering wedding day photograph, the wedding-themed candle controversy, and the relaunched, as ever, video shot in a rented kitchen presented as though it were her own. That is the run of headlines. And the diagnosis Tom Sykes offered in his column was one of the clearest summaries anyone had yet written. A commentator has written extensively about the entire Sussex situation. He argued that the Meghan Markle and Prince Harry brand is currently in a state of complete chaos, a scattergun operation with no clear direction. One day, it is serious Meghan Markle working alongside the World Health Organization. 2 days later, it is anniversary content set to pop music and centered around a penguin ornament. The two modes do not reinforce each other, they cancel each other out. You cannot position yourself as a serious geopolitical voice on Sunday and then become an aspirational lifestyle influencer on Tuesday, expecting both images to resonate equally with the audience. The public cannot keep up, and the brand, in trying to become every type of brand, ultimately risks becoming no brand at all. There is also a much sadder undertone beneath all of this, and journalist Paula Froelich described it as clearly as anyone has. She said, somewhat gently, that she was almost beginning to feel sorry for Meghan Markle at this point. She emphasized the word, almost, but her underlying observation appeared sincere. The new, as ever, promotional content, featuring the soft focus window pose, the dramatic stare into the camera, and the carefully staged seductive lighting, was essentially selling Meghan Markle herself as the product. And according to every available signal, the audience is simply not buying it. Paula Froelich's overall assessment of the operation was straightforward. She argued that Meghan Markle does not appear to know what the strategy is, and neither does the team around her. The flood the zone approach is what happens when you stop trusting any single piece of content to succeed on its own. Instead, you throw everything at the wall and hope something sticks. And this weekend, by nearly every measurable metric, nothing did. Meanwhile, King Charles III found himself at the center of a very different royal moment this week. While participating in a public engagement, the king was, in the most polite possible phrasing, King Charles III was, during a public engagement, defecated on by a passing bird. The footage quickly circulated online. By all accounts, the king's reaction was characteristically good-humored. According to traditional British folklore, being targeted by a bird in this manner is considered good luck. And, to his credit, the king handled the moment with the same dry, unbothered composure that has defined much of his public image. However, while that footage was circulating, a separate and far more politically sensitive development emerged, one that King Charles III is likely to find far less amusing. The first batch of official documents relating to the appointment of the former Duke of York, now known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as a United Kingdom trade envoy has been released by the British government. The Daily Telegraph led the coverage. According to the release documents, there was no evidence of formal security vetting when the appointment was made. The records also indicate that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor told officials at the time that he preferred to visit what he described as more sophisticated countries on overseas trips. The documents further note, in understated official language, that the former Duke of York preferred ballet to theatre. A separate internal memo records that the late Queen Elizabeth II was very keen for the former Duke to take on a prominent role in promoting national interests. That final detail is the most politically sensitive aspect of the release. It suggests that the appointment was made not on the basis of qualifications, but rather due to the personal preference of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. It also indicates that the appointment proceeded without the standard security vetting normally required for public roles of this scale. None of this, in the cold light of the public record, will surprise those who have followed the wider Andrew Mountbatten Windsor story over the past several years. However, this is only the first batch of documents, with more expected to follow. Each new release is likely to reopen the same controversy for King Charles III, who has been making visible efforts to move beyond the Andrew chapter. Behind the institution. It is worth pausing to recognize the institutional difficulty this creates for the current monarch, King Charles III. The late Queen Elizabeth II, by all available accounts, did push for her son, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, to occupy a prominent national role. The documents released this week have now made that preference part of the official paper trail. King Charles III now inherits the consequences of those earlier decisions. Every fresh release of documents will, in part, reflect institutional choices made before he ascended the throne. He cannot rewrite the past. He cannot pretend these appointments did not occur. He can only continue doing what he has been doing, gradually removing his brother from visible institutional roles, supporting the formal stripping of certain styles and patronages, and signaling through his own public choices that the institution he leads is moving in a different direction. In the cold reality of royal succession, this is the kind of inherited problem every new reign must manage. Some issues can be quietly resolved. Others return repeatedly over time. The Andrew Mountbatten Windsor issue, by all available indications, is the second type. And while a large portion of the British public broadly supports the institutional steps already taken, there is also a growing recognition in serious royal commentary that more difficult chapters may still lie ahead. There are journalists, including Andrew Loney, among others, who have argued that the wider story is far from over and that further revelations may still emerge. Whether that proves true or not, the documents released this week serve as a reminder that the past does not remain buried simply because the present administration would prefer it to. So this is the royal landscape as it stands this week. One side of the family dealing with a kitchen product, a candle, a misposted wedding photograph, an underwhelming promotional video, and the deafening silence of an A-list celebrity world that has remained notably distant. Moved on. The other side is dealing with a football team finally hitting form, a passing bird, and the slow drip of historical documents about a different family member, navigated with the steady, unshowy discipline that has come to characterize the entire reign so far. You cannot manufacture 2 decades of consistent behavior by flooding the zone one weekend in May. You cannot turn a kitchen no neighbor will admit liking into the center of a lifestyle empire. You cannot rebrand from a serious geopolitical voice to penguin-themed anniversary content in 48 hours and expect either persona to land. And you cannot, by every available signal from the celebrity friends who once stood beside you at the altar, retain public endorsement when the operation around you has become something even their own communications teams now actively avoid. So here's where we land, a weekend of total Sussex chaos. The kitchen that is now a metaphor. An anniversary that ended in silence. A candle that crossed a line. A misposted photograph that may, in the end, be the most revealing image of the entire 8 years. A relaunched as ever video shot somewhere that is not the family home. A growing pile of documents about a former duke that will not go away. And in the middle of it all, a future king of the United Kingdom enjoying his football team finally winning, while the institution he will one day lead continues calmly and quietly to do exactly what it has done for 1,000 years. Keep going, keep showing up, keep doing the work, let the contrast make itself, stay sharp, stay watching. Because the story that began in Italy 2 weeks ago, ran through Geneva last weekend, and arrived at a rented farmhouse kitchen this weekend is not over. It is, by every honest reading, only just entering the chapter that everybody else has been able to see coming for a very, very long time. I will see you very,